Good evening, sinners and saints. I'm your host, TheDemonFergus, back with another One Piece video, and it is finally over. My 2024 Arlington Regionals for One Piece, right here, and I am happy on what I did. I'm gonna go ahead and show right here what my score is. I ended up getting 290 out of 1,028, I believe, players that were there. I ended up going 6-4 with a Gecko deck. Two were straight up misplays, and we'll get to that in a minute. So I ended up going 6-4 on my run. I ended up losing. I ended up losing 4 times. Literally the last match, the last two. No, yeah, the last match was a loss, which was a misplay, which was 2 games that I ended up misplaying in. And if I felt like if I didn't end up misplaying those 2 games, I could have at least gotten top 125 or at least close to top 64. Maybe try to get that Eustace Kid, which is so beautiful. It looks right there. I'll get you soon. I still got one more regional, so I'm proud of how I did. There is some sleeper cards, and I felt like this card was so slept on. I think someone ended up using him during the event because I think he ended up getting second place. I'm not too sure. But there was another Gecko player that was using him too. But I was so shocked the Gecko players weren't using him, and it is my boy Cerberus. Cerberus was literally the way when I was play testing him for a long time. I've noticed that if you play against heavy hitter rusher characters, or like for example Yamato, which blows my mind how many freaking Yamato players were at the event. Like besides my friend Bunny Hunter, which I'll post this thing right here. He's going to be making content. He's great with deck editing and constructive criticism when it comes to decks. So I can't wait for him to post his own video. But he was also a Yamato player, and then also my boy Good Luck Gabe. He was also playing Yamato, but there was so many Yamato players at this event. I think I played against at least, I think like 5 Yamato players or 4. For sure, I ended up misplaying against 2 of them. So those were completely like, we'll get to those in a minute, but there was 2 misplays. But Cerberus literally stops Yamato on his tracks because when the whole thing with Yamato, especially when you're playing against them, and if they know what to do, they're just gonna unga bunga you and hit you so hard early in the game with that 8-8-8 swing and double attack, which kind of puts you in a terrible situation, especially with Gecko, because you want to at least get to close to 8 drop 8 to 9 dawn. And so for those of you who are trying to figure out how to play against Gecko, you pretty much want to eliminate their hands, same thing like Sakazuki, and prevent them from getting to 8 to 9 dawn. And Yamato does that so easily because once they swing 8, if you don't have 2/2Ks in your hand, you're dishing out like 2 or 3 or even 4 cards. And as a Gecko player, you don't want to do that because sometimes it's either you have Gecko in your hand early game after doing Sindri, which she did not want to come out at all and help your boy out. And it sucked like the whole tournament. She only came out once turn 1 and it hurt. But anyways, you want to at least see Sindri and everything. But like sometimes you get stuck with Gecko in your hand, which is good because then you don't have to do you don't have to bring out the whole hogback play and all that stuff. You can do other plays because Hogback's ability, you're able to use him, get a Thriller Bark character from your deck, your graveyard, and add him back to your hand. So you kind of avoid that. And sometimes you want to do other plays. So seeing that's there is good and all, but he has no combo. No counter on him. So once you get hit with Yamato, and once you know Yamato has the advantage of the yellow green, and they bring out Kikunojo once you're at 3 life, you're pressing your luck, and it gets a little hard real fast. But your boy Cerberus comes in clutch because first turn 1 you don't have him. That's fine. Especially if you go first, you use Sindri. If you get her, If you don't, you just pass turn. Your opponent does their turn. They just either do a searcher or sometimes they just pass. I've had a good amount of my yellow players pass turn. Then they turn 2. You use your go. Use Gecko's ability, discard Cerberus from your hand, or if you're lucky, he's already discarded because of Sindri. And then you bring him back, and then bam, you already got a blocker, and you're safe. And you might be wondering, oh, well, they can EZO you. That's fine, because even if they EZO, they're going to be from one to especially if they're going second or first, they're either going from 2 dawn to from they're either going from 3 dawn or 4 dawn, and that's fine because cool. They bring out EZO, they block your block, they rest your blocker, but and then they're only swinging for 6, and you should have at least a 2K or 2 cards that you can combo out unless you screwed up. But regardless, you're safe for literally like another turn. So bam, you either sack Cerberus or you just discard 2 cards or a 2K. But then you still have your hand as advantage, or you can bring them back. Man, the amount of times I kept on bringing Cerberus back in the beginning of the game was nuts, and it pissed off all my opponents because cool, I would swing because there would be most of the times they wouldn't have anything to pop with Absalom, and I really didn't worry too much about my opponent's hand because from playtesting, yeah, I could use Perona to discard a card, but most of the time it really didn't get me an advantage. So I just kept it in my hand for a 2K advantage, which helped me so many times. But just bringing back Cerberus so many times, they always had to answer for him. So it was amazing. And my boy came in so clutch. And every opponent that I played, they always gave me the same response, saying like, especially once I was going through midway through the tournament, and at the end, they're like, I had even other people looking at my deck saying like, hey, you rocking Cerberus? Like, how are you feeling? Do you like him and all this stuff? You're like the only Gecko player I'm seeing rocking him, and I was just blown away because I was like, I can't be the only one that's using him. And needless to say, it was. But I think again, I could be wrong. I think the second place winner did end up using one Cerberus in his deck, which is crazy because out of my 4 losses, so I guess we'll go to the games. First game I played, I was playing against Red Purple Law, and the dude sacked me. I ended up, so the board was him having the Penguin Brothers and Kid, and I was about to pop Kid, and I was gonna swing with Sindri because he only had 2 cards in his hand. So I was like, okay, cool, I can board wipe him and destroy. I'm a swing with Gecko, bring Absalom to destroy him because I ended up using Ice Age to bring his level 5 Eustace Kid to 0, bring Absol, and then pop him, and that's it. But first, I was supposed to do that first. But in my mind, I ended up messing up the sequence, and I ended up swinging with Sindri first, and ended up just blocking it. And then I swung with Absol to kill the Penguin Brothers, and then he ended up just comboing out of it since I didn't swing with Sindri first. And I knew from that moment, I was like, ooh, I lost. I was like you gotta know, like as a one piece player, like or just a card game player in general, like like that pinnacle moment, like I lost the game because I was able to. I stood my ground for a bit, but then he ended up just flooding the field and bouncing back my Absols back to the bottom of my deck, and I just couldn't keep up, and he ended up getting me. So that moment, I could have had it. I could have board wiped him. He only had 2 cards in his hand. He would have sacked one to save him, and then I think his other card wasn't really anything he could use at the moment. So I could have sacked the other one, but with injury, but it didn't happen. So GG's on that part. Then second match, I ended up going against a Uta player, which I was fortunate enough to play test against her a lot. And she's not really that hard, especially with Gecko, because Yeah, they can flood the board fast, but unfortunately, a lot of those cards are low level characters, and the only ones you really have to worry about is if they're running the fortress build with Kid, or they're just doing like just ramping with uh 7 drop Luffy. But it wasn't no problem. He ended up bringing out Kid. I ended up using Ice Age and Great Eruption, and then I just popped it, and he had no board. I just kept on popping everything. So it was super easy. But again, uh, he couldn't really attack me. I even had all my life, but he couldn't attack me because Cerberus was just on my field nonstop. So he always had an answer for him. So but you know, Uta doesn't really have answers. But every time you try to double swing and use the ability of Uta to swing back, I had Cerberus, so couldn't do much. Um, so after that, I went to Katakuri, which I think I only that was my only round 3 was my only Katakuri matchup, and I ended up losing solely because his last card was a cracker trigger, and I had enough life. I had 2 life, and I had a Cerberus in my field and a Barcelino, so I was okay. But no, yeah. And then I had 1 life, and he ended up having that trigger, and I was like okay, I might be okay. But he ended up top decking um pinpoint or whatever that card is, the card that's getting banned. Uh, oh god, I think everyone is pretty excited for when that's gonna happen. Um, reject. There we go. Reject's the card. Reject ended up destroying the last card, and since he didn't, because he had 10 drop Big Mom in his hand, and he was gonna do that, but and then I had enough cards to kind of save myself and combo out, and I was waiting for that. And even after the match, he even confirmed he was going to go for the Big Mom and hope I didn't have anything in my hand, which I had like 1 or 2 2Ks or 3 2Ks. I had a good. I was good, and he was hoping I didn't have anything, but I had the combo. But him doing the reject, giving me that, removing that life, and just using all his Dawn on his cards, especially with Cracker and all that, I couldn't live. So that Cracker, and then top deck and that reject got me. So it was GG's. It was a fun match. I was worried that I was going to play a lot of Karakuris, but I didn't. And again, he was another shocked player because early game he was trying to hit me hard. He every time he tried to use Nami, I had my Cerberus on the field, and he just couldn't get rid of it. So that was it was the beautiful win for me right there. Just I lost, but still beautiful that Cerberus was just working. My boy was working. Um, Game 4, I ended up playing against Whitebeard, which it was cool. But again, another deck that I was fortunate enough to play test against my boy Smitty, uh, my big brother right there. So playing against him got me, and watching him play against Bunny Hunter, especially when we're all getting ready for regionals. Um, Seeing them play, and then seeing that whole ability with the 0 drop that gives 3K to a 1 drop, and seeing how they interacted with that, I was able to adapt. And when that happened to me, I wasn't taken away from it. So I was like, cool, I'm just destroying their 1 drops, and that 0 drop just stayed on the board, because by the time it was already mid to late game, there was no point in bringing out any more searchers or Namis. But again, Cerberus did the work. I bring out like I think that was the one time Sindri came out. She discarded Cerberus right after her. Turn 2, bring out Cerberus, and it was just chef's kisses right there. It was beautiful, 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 beautiful. Then we had lunch. Game 5, I ended up going against Reiju. I ended up beating Reiju. because again, Cerberus was just doing the work. I'm gonna gas up my boy. I can't stress it enough to how much fucking Cerberus saved me so many times. And on top of that, my opponent, I ended up beating them. And then after that, I played against another Reiju player for game 6. And I was just, I gassed them up. I kept on just popping their field, not letting them have a single board advantage because they were bouncing cards left and right. The dude was so cool. I didn't go against a single local player, and everybody was so out of state and everything. But that's what I love about this community is that it didn't. It felt competitive, of course, but it didn't feel like try hardiness. Maybe because I was already at the bottom of the barrel, but it was just a good fresh breath air. So if any of you players who are watching this from different card games and everything, the One Piece community is super chill, and I really love that about us. And playing against him, like we were still like we're like being professional, being a little tense and everything, but it was still lighthearted. Like we were cracking jokes on each other. Like when he searched 3 times. He used the field spell 3 times, and 4 times actually. And out of the 4 times, 3 of those were misses, and I couldn't believe it. And I kept on saying, "There's a dream that you just whiff it." And he was like, "It's not gonna happen," and it whiffed. And then he did it again, and he whiffed again. And he's just like, "Okay, I can't be that bad." And he tried it again later, like late game. He tried it one more time and riffed. And then we ended up playing it. He couldn't get rid of Cerberus because every time he would try to do, because I've played. If you've been watching my TikToks, which again, plug right here, go check out my TikToks every night. I'm a late night streamer over there. So if you're a night owl, go check me out. I love to play against people in the community, especially anybody who wants to just mess around or play competitive decks. I'm always down. But I've been trying out Reiju, and hearing stories about like mid to late game, you get hit with the dual 7 drops rushers, and that's how you get game because they hit bad with that 7K attack. Oof. And then minus 2K on a card. It's nutty. But I didn't let him do a single time because I just kept on destroying it. And every time he tried to do he always had to bring out him and the actual next person I played, because it was also another Reiju. I ended up just playing back-to-back Reijus. But they ended up they had to keep on destroying Cerberus, so they kept on bringing the 5-drop that popped the card. But since I kept on bringing them out constantly, they couldn't go in fully, so it was crazy, and I loved it. And we ended up playing, and then when he was like, "Dang," like, because he ended up doing something, and he was like, because he ended up risking it because he either had to destroy my gecko for a better chance to winning because he had 1 card in hand, which is crazy for a Reiju player because I ate their hands fast, but they only had 1 card in hand. And it was either they had like 3 lives, but it was either destroy the gecko for a better chance to win. So the next turn, I would have to risk it to give more Dawn to my Rob Lush and my Absalon that was on the field, or kill the Lush, but and then go for game the turn after that. So the way we played it out, it was good. He had to take the risk. But then he was like, "Well, like I would have won next turn and all that stuff." But then when we checked my my lives, I still had 4 lives. Every single one of those was a 2K, and I was like, "Nah, bro, you were not getting through that." And he was like, "Oh no, never mind, you got it. Either way, you got it. Even if I risked it or didn't, you got it." So like stuff like that. It was so lighthearted. We were having fun about it. It was cool. So I ended up playing 2 more Reijus, and then after those 2 Reijus, I ended up playing against I ended up getting paired down and played a Yamato player, and this was the other misplay I ended up having. and I ended up. So what happened? And this is a misplay on my part. So again, I already know it's Yamato. They're gonna do the Unga Bunga swing early in the game, which he ended up doing, and I was ready because I ended up using Gecko's ability to mill the cards I had, and I ended up comboing out the first turn because I didn't get Sindri because I didn't, and it sucked. And again, the only time she ever came out was early in the tournament. So I ended up living one more turn because he ended up going for double searchers instead of swinging, and he ended up getting the Onami, which ended up crippling me bad. Because so what was supposed to happen, since I already saw my Cerberus in my graveyard, I was supposed to attach the Dawn and then swing with Cerberus and and to get Cerberus back, protect myself. But I ended up over attaching the Dawn to my leader and only having one Dawn on my Dawn field or Dawn area, whatever you want to call it. And he pointed it out, and I saw that, and I was like, because I was already reaching for Cerberus, and I didn't even notice that I didn't have enough Dawn until the guy pointed it out. And he was being respectful. He knows I wasn't trying to cheat or anything, because I was like, the way we were playing, I was just like, all right, cool. I was in motions, pretty much kind of like a little bit of autopilot, because I was like, all right, cool, get my Cerberus, do this. And then he pointed it out. I was like, hey, you don't have enough Dawn. I was just like, what? And I look, and I over attached the Dawn. I was like, you're right, my bad, my mistake. You're right. I put Cerberus back, and I was just like, I ended up messing up. And I was like, that's game. I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna lose. And past his turn, he ended up getting. He ended up bringing out Onami, swinging for 9, and I only had like 3 cards in hand, and one of them was a Gecko, and the other one I think was an Ice Age and just a 1K. I was like, there was no way I was comboing out of that unless I had the three 2Ks. So I was like, ugh, over attaching because I ended up attaching a Dawn to Perona that I was able to get back. Yeah, that's what it was. I attached one Perona and I was doing math wrong, and instead of adding just the 1 Dawn, I ended up adding 2 Dawn to my life. So it was like to Gecko. And I was like, oof, and I just couldn't recover. I was able to get Cerberus out, but then he ended up popping it and all that stuff. And by the time we were like pretty much close, he just was too far. He had his blocker. He had what's her face for the life. I was just like, damn, you got me. And he ended up taking it home. And it sucked because it was like he got paired. He lost his game, so I needed to win this one to go up to it, and I would have been good. But and then he got paired down. I got paired down, and he was already out of top 64, I believe. So he lost. I was like, ugh. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I lost that one, and then I played against another Yamato player. Then this one was going heavy on the this guy was going heavy on the Fishman side of Yamato, which I didn't really see that because he was using Kemi to like search, and I'm guessing he was searching for like Absol. I mean not Absol, Hody. But again, he was another player that whiffed 3 times. Like the dude whiffed 3 times. And it was crazy. And like every time he did it, he kept on getting all his lightning all the yellow cards. But he couldn't use any single one of them. So I was just like, I'm taking it and running. And I didn't see Cerberus at all that game. So I was so hyped. I was like, oh my God, thank God. And then we ended up playing again, and he ended up winning. He was like, man, like, the whole typical, this should have been the game that we played. It was just like, oh, well. So that was my game 9. And then game 10, I was like, all right, maybe I have a chance. Game 10, another Yamato player. This time, my boy Cerberus didn't show up at all. And I just had the utmost trashiest hand ever. I ended up having like, after mulligan and everything, because again with Yamato, I don't even worry about looking for Sindri. If I don't see a Cerberus in my hand, either first hand or second hand, I'm in danger. because he's just, I guess the way I play him, he's just crucial in making sure I survive for the long haul, especially against Yamato because of the Unga Bunga swings. And needless to say, I got hit with the Unga Bunga swing and it hurt. And it's just like, ugh, I'm already at 3 life. Then he's gonna do it again and brings Onami. I'm just like, bro, the one card breaks this whole system, and he did not show up, and they're all in the bottom of the deck. I guess this is my atonement for preying on my enemy's downfall, and for 2 of them not being able to get anything from their searchers. So it is what it is. I ended up losing my 4 matches. 2 from Yamato, 1 from a yellow purple Luffy Law, and then a Katakuri. 2 of them were misplay. It sucked. But it was okay. I ended up getting at least my second Dawn, technically third, because I ended up getting one from Bunny Hunter, because the Dawn is so beautiful. Like, look at this thing. Look at this thing. It just looks so amazing. But I ended up getting there. Luckily, one of our teammates, Dylan Tran, Mr. Metakai himself, go check him out. I'll post all his stuff right over here. My boy ended up getting, I believe, 190 or something like that. So I ended up getting the sleeves as well, and I think another Dawn. So he ended up getting what he wanted. We're close. Like, again, if he ended up finishing 7-3, I ended up finishing 6-4. Our other friends, Smitty and Alex, they ended up finishing like, I think, 4-6 or 3-7. Pretty much the opposite of us, which is funny. My cousin also was there. The dude ended up, Mr. Big Shot Rob, ended up just winging a purple Luffy deck that I let him borrow, because the man was wanting to build a Yamato deck literally a week and a half before the tournament, which was like, yo, bro, I can't get these cards for you. Everybody's trying to upcharge. I ain't doing that. So, but nonetheless, I had so much fun at the event. I'm showing all the stuff here. Opening my packs. Again, you can watch a little recap where I deep dive. Well, not super deep dive, but like talk about it a little bit more on that end on TikTok and Instagram. So go ahead and check out those. I'll go ahead and show you guys the deck. So just in case you want to. So this is the deck that I ended up rocking over there at the tournament. Get in there, brand new. I ended up fighting with him. It always made my opponents laugh, because every time I was like, all right, cool. Because I would bring Cerberus out, and there was nothing else to like swing or destroy. Or when they would rest their characters, especially like going against Yamato, and they bring out the little bald-headed kid, and I'll just swing with brand new. I'd just like, get in there, brand new. So my boy brand new got in there. But yeah, this is pretty much my deck list. I ended up rocking 3 Cerberus, and my boy came in clutch. He's the MVP of that tournament. If I did not misplay those 2 cards, I could have potentially walked away with my top 64 kid, which again, I'm just so hyped and glad that I performed really well. 290 is not bad out of 1,000, so I'll gladly take that. But everything else is pretty much core. Thriller Bark with pretty much all these 4. I ended up rocking 4 of her, 3 Barcelinos, 3 brand news, 3 Sabos, 3 Rob Lush, 3 Hempepo, and then 4 Ice Sage and 4 Eruptions. So Eruptions is pretty much going to be taken away, but I'm probably going to be rocking this deck going into June's regional here in Mesquite, Texas. I just need to mess around with these. I'll probably, especially since I have to get rid of this, I'll probably end up adding 1 more Cerberus. I could probably end up adding another Hippo and another brand new, or adding the what's her face, Tashi, and just adding her in there, or just adding Rebecca as well. Now that Great Eruption's out, adding Rebecca in there, adding more defenses. Real Thriller Bark, Castle Crashers style. But again, my boy was MVP. It blows my mind that Gecko players have not been using him, because The way I see it is that that early game presence is what's so dangerous, and you want to stay as close to 5, which I did. The amount of games that I was above 5 lives was crazy to me, and I was so comfortable. Like I was able to do risks. I was able to do so much things because my boy Cerberus was there. So I'm definitely gonna make, when I make my One Piece playmat with my homies on there, Cerberus is definitely gonna be on that playmat because he is the MVP for me at this event. I already ordered my pre-release uh, set of him to have his max rarity in the deck, but my boy's the GOAT. I really like him. So if you want to give it a try, let me know how you feel about it. Maybe he doesn't work for you at all. Maybe he does. There's so many. We're starting to see some variants of geckos, especially since Sakazuki is pretty much out, and this was the last and only tournament to use him. So RIP Saka. So I'm definitely interested to see what people are going to be rocking now. Maybe I know we should be getting the starter deck Luffy or Trio Brothers pretty soon. So it's going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to the meta that's going to be up there. But the goal for me, again, in my One Piece journey, is to pull a manga rare, which we already did that with the manga law. To go ahead and to get a flagship card. So if it ends up being Kid or even all the way up to Luffy, and also to get a serialized card. If I can get a serialized and a flagship, I am happy with my One Piece career, and I feel like I can do it. I appreciate all of my friends with the support that helped me out, especially playtesting and all that stuff, or just even talking with me in general. And again, you guys for all the love and support too. Try to do as videos as fun as possible, and I hope you guys enjoy. I will be posting some more playthrough videos, so I'll probably end up running this deck, and hopefully you guys enjoy that. So be on the lookout for some gameplay content. I do want to try other decks and learn them too, because that's the only way you get better, is by playing other decks and seeing how they work, because that actually helped me so much in this tournament because of having that awareness and knowledge. Because even when I was playing against so example, when I was playing against the the Whitebeard deck, you always, especially mid to late game, you got to assume they either have an ace or a Whitebeard in their hand mid to late game. And that helps you so much, especially when they have a fat hand or even just 5 cards, because that eliminates 1 to 2 cards in their hands. And same thing with Yamato, you gotta at least anticipate a Hody Jones in their hands mid to late game. So that helped me out a lot. And same thing with Big Mom. Katakuri having the Big Mom in their hands. And every time I talked to my opponents at the end of the turns, I was like, hey, did you have so-and-so in your hand? And that actually helped me win a lot of those matches because of that math. It's super easy math, because it's like, cool, they have 4 cards in their hand. The max they can have is 8K, but then once you start adding those factors in of those other those cards in those specific decks, playing those decks, you're able to remove some cards because of process of elimination. So cool, they have 4 cards in their hand. 2 of them might be a 2K, so that's already 4. One of them might be a dead hand, and another one might be a 1K. So it is a little bit risky, and I don't recommend doing that, only if you have, again, that knowledge of playing those decks and playing against them a lot. But using any bit of knowledge, game awareness, helps so much. And I guess that's a little tidbit for me to y'all. Again, I will try to showcase as many matches as I can going forward, because I feel like it's fun. I love watching gameplay, especially playing while I'm playing. And watching people play is cool. There's a lot of good content creators out there in the One Piece space, and then also box openings. So if you like collecting cards, or even slabs and serialized stuff, how about you drop your boy a follow? Again, I'll be posting stuff and One Piece content on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube, which is here. So go ahead and follow me on all of the social media platforms / TheDemonFergus. And as always, if you're a sinner, do a little bit good out there. If you're a saint, don't be afraid to be a little bit naughty. But everybody spread some peace, love, and positivity. I've been your host, TheDemonFergus, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.